Hi, and welcome to today's Dux-Soup webinar. I'm Jo Henderson, one of the members of the marketing team here at Dux, and I'm joined today by LinkedIn marketing expert Tracy Enos, and Giles obviously there with us as usual with his yellow hat on. Before we hear from Tracy, I'd just like to cover off a couple of points. This is a business-focused webinar, not a technical session. Everyone will be on mute. I'm sure you will all have lots of questions, so please add them into the question box and we'll pick these up with Tracy at the end. We do send out a recording of the webinar by email, and that will be available for all of you later today in around 5 hours or so. So let's get on to our speaker. Tracy is a LinkedIn marketing expert, a single mum of 4, and author of LinkedIn Publishing to Profits, a 5-step approach to winning high-paying clients. And let's face it, we'd all like some of those. In 2015, Tracy was unfortunately hospitalised for a prolonged period of time with third-degree burns, but whilst in recovery, she discovered that LinkedIn was the answer to growing her own business and saving her career. Whilst working from her hospital bed, she promoted her company, onboarded new clients, conducted life-changing meetings, and helped her clients to grow their business to 6 figures or more, and she's been doing it ever since. Tracy has now consulted with thousands of companies, helping to generate millions in new business across the globe, and we are thrilled to have her with us today. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Tracy, and I will be with you at the end of the session. Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, Jo. That was great. I'm so thankful to be here today with all of you, and we're going to have a little bit of fun today. And I've got some really cool things towards the end of the webinar. Well, wherever you are, for me it's morning. In some other places it's afternoon or evening. So a little bit about me. Jo, she did a wonderful job of edifying me a little bit, but I am the international best-selling author of LinkedIn Publishing to Profits. It's a 2018 book. You can actually go and find it on Amazon, but don't go purchase it because you're going to get it for free at the end today. I am a LinkedIn power user, and that is not my own title. That was given to me by LinkedIn. And I've been on the advisory team, which is about 1,400 of us worldwide since 2013. So our surveys that we give feedback to LinkedIn help LinkedIn shape to what it is today. I've been in sales and marketing with over 21 years, and you guys are never going to believe how I got started. I got started selling timeshare in Branson, Missouri. Go figure, right? And since I've been doing LinkedIn consulting, I have coached thousands of clients, and I have helped them generate millions of dollars across multiple industries. I worked with everybody from the solo entrepreneur to the Fortune 50 company. And as Jo mentioned, LinkedIn saved my career in 2015 when at 5:30 in the morning, I sustained third-degree burns. And I spent 6 days in the hospital. I had 5 surgeries over the 9 months. And while I was in the hospital, my second or third day in, can't remember, it's still a little fuzzy. And while on morphine, I actually sold a $3,000 coaching program. Now, I don't recommend you all do that, but it was the foundation that I had built prior to those, to that traumatic event that saved my business and my career. And in 2019, I had a client that I did a profile makeover for, and he was in Chicago, went to an event at LinkedIn headquarters, and kind of threw me under the bus, and ended up LinkedIn actually showed all their employees and the rest of the group there that this is how you do a profile. So whew. Anyway, so he sent me a message back and says, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but LinkedIn approved your profile makeovers. So I thought that was pretty good. All right, so the agenda today, after I explain this slide, I'm going to go off camera so that you guys can just concentrate on the slides and not me. And so today we're going to talk about, what's the business goals and objectives for being on LinkedIn, finding your keywords, because LinkedIn, after all, is a search engine. And then we're going to talk about my proprietary HEAT method, and this is the key to your profile success. We're going to talk about some, hopefully soon, keep your fingers crossed, some new features that are coming to your profile from LinkedIn. I'm not supposed to know this information, but I'm going to share it anyway, and I'll ask for forgiveness later. And I'm going to share my Dux-Soup strategy. And I'm also going to give you a couple success stories from using Dux-Soup and Sales Navigator. All right, so we're going to go off camera. All right, Joe, am I off camera?
I know, unfortunately, you've stopped sharing your screen. We can still see your camera, but we can't see your slides anymore.
I'm a Zoom girl.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. All right. First
Excellent.
technical hiccup of the day. All right. So my slides are not advancing. Okay.
You try using the mouse and just see if click on the screen with your mouse, and hopefully we'll get some action. Then we're not going to get. There we go. There we go.
Okay. So let's first define our business goals and objectives. And so, pardon me. So we need to define why we're on LinkedIn. And for a lot of folks, they just get on LinkedIn and then just, you know, fill out a profile, not really putting some thought into it, and then doing activities that are not, you know, not strategic. They're just, you know, I'm going to do a little bit of here, I'm going to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And they don't really see any results from using LinkedIn. So first, find out why you're on LinkedIn. What's the objectives? Why are you here? Okay, what does that look like? That could be, you know, I want to grow my consulting business to 20 clients a month, or I want an annual ROI of 6 or 7 figures. All right, but how are we going to get there? So you have to sit down and define the goals. Once we've defined the objective, what's the goal? So, you know, the goal for LinkedIn could be, all right, I'm going to sit down and get to that 20 new clients per month. I need to go out and find those folks, right? And you can use either the regular LinkedIn or Sales Navigator, but define who that is and then go set your goals for it. Okay, I'm going to reach out to how many people per week, how per day, per month. How long are we going to do this? Are we going to do this for 3 months, 6 months? You got to define your short-term and long-term goals on how you want to get to what the objectives that you have defined, right? So it's crucial to understand the why and the how to create a successful campaign, but it all starts with the profile, right? And that's how we're going to define the who. So first, by defining the who, we need to sit down, and before we write anything in our profile, we need to do some offline work. And this is where we're going to define the demographics and the psychographics of our ideal customer. So we need to define the target industry. So for those of you who are Sales Navigator, these demographics are going to work out well for you because you'll be able to use the filters within Sales Navigator to define the demographic questions. For those of you who are on the free LinkedIn profile, it's going to be a little more challenging because you get very limited filters. So I recommend, you know, going premium at some point, and we'll discuss that a little bit more in the webinar. So define the geographical area. So, you know, are you in sales and you your company has said, okay, you're going to do the Western region, right? So you want to define, you know, maybe that's California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Arizona, right? Are they likely in any LinkedIn groups? So does the ideal customer, you know, are they the CEO of a major corporation or even a mid-sized corporation? You might want to go in and see and try and find some CEO groups where your ideal customer might be hanging out. What size is the company are you wanting to work with? LinkedIn has some great filters in there, anywhere from self-employed up to 10,000 plus, you know, size of the head count of a company. You want to define the target positions. So like we mentioned, is that CEO? Is it vice president? Is it vice president of marketing? Is it business development? Is it, you know, sit down and define each one of those, but not just the top ones that you're going to target. Who reports to the decision makers? So take that a step further and define, you know, because sometimes you're not going to get in front of the decision maker right away, and it may be taking the people that directly report to the decision maker to get your foot in the door. What is their annual revenue? You need to understand if they can pay you, right? The challenge for a lot of self-employed or gig workers is they're not at that level yet where they can pay you for your high ticket offers. So make sure that these folks can pay you. And what products, and now we're going to start getting into psychographics, right? You know, what products or services that you have and the competitors have that they've already tried, right? So we've got to do a little bit of competitor research, right? So what are some of the same services or products that you have that your competitors have, and how are you different, right? What do you do better? What is it that they liked or disliked about your product or service or the competitor's product or service? And this might be, you know, depending on who you're targeting, whether it's business to business or business to customer. Are you looking for the demographics of married folks, divorced folks, single? All right. Are they men? Are they women? What age range do they fall into? Too often we sit down and go, well, I can work with everybody. Well, I can. I know definitely I'm a consultant and on LinkedIn, and there's what, over 860 plus million now. I don't know the exact number. That's a lot of people to work with. So I want to refine that. Who do I really like working with? And what is the age range of that? What online publications do they read? Do they read Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc.? You know, sit down and define what that is. You know, what influencers do they follow? Not that I get into religious or political per se, but it might help, you know, define and refine that ideal customer profile as well. And if you ever need help brainstorming, go back to your past customers and interview them. How did they get into, you know, to discover who you are? How did they get on the phone with you? And then what was that conversation that ultimately led them to pull the trigger and do business with you? And once you do several of those customer interviews, you're really going to find out what their pain points are, what their ultimate desires are, and ultimately how they decided to work with you. So next, we got to find our keywords. So LinkedIn, after all, is a search engine, right? And there's a search bar in there. Everything that you do on LinkedIn is a search, okay? So you want to find the keywords that your prospect profiles or your prospects are typing in to find your products and services. This way, it can help you get found organically. So think like your prospect, all right? So for example, maybe you provide social media marketing services, all right? So you might want to put in social media marketing, or your prospect might do that. They also might, you know, go in and go marketing services. They might do Facebook marketing or Instagram marketing. Think like the prospect. How are they trying to find somebody like you to solve their problem? So what desire can your product or service fulfill? Right? Oh, we misspelled fulfill. Look at that. So you've got to sit down and you know, decide and brainstorm up to 50 keywords in the skill section. And this isn't just, you're not just going to place these keywords in the skill section. You're going to actually strategically use those throughout your profile. You're going to sprinkle them in. You're not going to stuff them in there, but you're going to sprinkle them in there. And this can be very daunting because somebody says, you know what, it's really hard to come up with 50 skills. So there is a difference between the old skills and the new skills. So the old way used to be like if you were looking for a job and you had certain skills, like let's say you were a Excel or a Microsoft Word expert, you would put that in there, that your skills are Microsoft Word or Excel or any of those other, you know, type of skills that you have. Maybe it's customer service, maybe it's employee engagement or employee advocacy, whatever those keywords are. But today, we started doing this 4 or 5 years ago, and then LinkedIn a couple years ago came out with this is how we use the skills section now. So if you are not using, let's say, the Microsoft or the expertise in those products in your current business, why are they in your skill section, right? So when we brainstorm the keywords about what is it that our prospect is typing in to find, you know, our services that's going to solve their problem or fulfill that ultimate desire, you're going to use those keywords, right? Because now that's showcasing your expertise a little bit and your authority on the subject matter. So here's an example. And we're going to take it. What we want you to do is, I just mentioned having, problems coming up with 50 keywords. So how many can you come up with that? My example here, social media marketing. So go ahead right now and post your suggestions in the question box. Are we getting any in there? Joe?
Yep, I'm here, Giles here. I'm not seeing any coming in yet, but sometimes there's a little bit of a delay between what you're presenting and then the reaction of our listeners. So we'll give it a minute or two, and hopefully we'll see some keywords coming up there.
So guys, I'll tell you this, I can come up with 4 keywords out of this one long tail keyword right here to help break that down.
We've got a few coming through now. I've got TikTok, digital trends, SEO, social media, branding, LinkedIn marketing. Yes, Olivier there, yeah, pay-per-click, marketing. Yeah, so there's a variety of different things coming. Digital advertising, social media advertising, Google AdWords, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah.
Okay, well, those are all great, but maybe you don't actually do any of those services, right? And you're right, you could have, sub keywords to this one keyword between social media marketing. Could be Facebook marketing, TikTok marketing. All are great, and you should add those if you actually provide those services in your skill section. But here's what I was getting at. So social media marketing is 4 keywords. Social media marketing, obviously that one, and then I break it down: social media, marketing, and social marketing. So all those are going to get attention in the organic news feed or in search. So I hope that didn't blow everybody's mind, but you guys were on the right track. So just think like this: if you are struggling to come up, you got one great keyword like social media marketing, you're struggling to come up with additional ones, try and see if you can break it down. All right, now we're on to the good part. I love this. This is the heat for profile. So come on, guys, does your profile bring the heat? Right on. So we're going to talk about today, the acronym for HEAT is human, expertise, authority, and trust. So H is for human. So look, at the end of the day, your profile is a personal profile. They don't call it a company profile. They call it a personal profile. And 99% of your activities around LinkedIn is tied to your profile. So the first thing that people are going to see is your photo, right? Then they're going to see a truncated version of your headline. So let's just start with the photo, and we'll actually dive a little deeper into the human when it comes to the profile. But the obvious here is a profile photo of you, not your company logo, not the family dog, not the family on vacation, not like my very first client, which was a commercial roofer in Philadelphia with a fish in one hand and a beer in the other. So think like your photo should be face forward, smiling, inviting, and wear something that you would meet a potential customer for the very first time in person. If that happens to be a t-shirt and jeans, then by all means wear t-shirt and jeans. If it happens to be business casual or a little bit more formal, then do a photo that way. Also keep it neutral. We don't want to see the busy background. If you can fuzz it out or blur it out, that's great, as long as we focus on your face. Or like here with mine, which gets a lot of attention in the news feed, is add a colorful background, which draws the eye, especially if you're doing activities in the news feed and providing content and doing a comment strategy. Next, the H in the profile is your accomplishments. What I often see people forget is filling out these sections. How about the honors and awards? How about your volunteer work? How about organizations that you either belong to or you support monetarily? How about any publications that you have been written about you, like let's say a business journal had written about you or your company? And then what projects are you particularly proud of? And I don't mean projects that maybe that you worked on with somebody else. Yes, that's applicable. But what about projects like clients that you've had, right? Why don't you give some success stories of some clients? I don't see anybody doing it, but myself and my clients do. So you want to bring the human, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's a personal profile and people want to have a perception that they like you. E is for expertise. So we want to kind of showcase our expertise. You know, what do you do and how did you get there? Give me some sort of backstory, right? Don't just give a sales pitch in your about summary or your work experience. Show me why you are the expert at what you do. All right. And this, like I just mentioned, you and add this to your about summary, but we can also use this in other sections of the profile. What about our featured section? What about our work experience? Projects, I just mentioned projects. You can bring your expertise as well there. So it's okay to tout some of your successes, but taking it further, we can't just go with the expertise, we have to go with the authority. So expand on the expertise and showcase your authority. Who do you help? We already did that background work, right? We worked on the psychographics and the demographics and the keywords, right? Who do you help and how do you help them? You want to define how you're different from the competition. So I do recommend going and researching your competition on and off LinkedIn so that you can overcome obstacles and answer questions within your profile and your content by actually taking the high road and say, we do this, but you already know that your competitor doesn't, okay? So explain what kind of outcomes that you can provide. And we can do this in the summary of saying some successes that we have, but we can expand on that further. And here's a pro tip, guys. Tell them in your about summary to go check out your successes in the project section or some client stories or client testimonials, or whatever you want to call it. That way you can expand on the authority, and then they can, and what it does there is it drives them to go read the rest of your profile. So there's two types of people on LinkedIn. They are the skimmers and they are the linears. So the skimmers are probably going to look at your background photo, your headline, your name, and maybe your about summary, and that's it. Others will actually read your profile from top to bottom. And our goal here is to try to get those skimmers to read the rest of our profile, because at the end of the day, we all want to create the trust, right? So T is for trust. I already mentioned treating the project section differently. So that's where we tell our stories. I'm a big Dan Kennedy fan. And so what I like to do is use the problem, agitate, solution. It's a story format. So if you don't know what that is, I suggest that you go Google PAS, problem, agitate, solution. What that does is it brings people into your world and gives them an emotion. And the emotion that we want to invoke is one that says, I have a problem just like that person, and I want to solve that problem too. And I think Joe Smith can solve that for me. I'm going to go ahead and accept his connection request, or I'm going to message him, or I'm going to do some sort of outreach. I'm going to see if he can help me, right? So that's how we showcase our successes in story format. Tell a story. Long are the days of the CV resume look on LinkedIn. And trust me, I still see that. And LinkedIn's what, 20 years old? Came out in December of 2002. So what I recommend is that you go out there and get some stories. And we can add some of those stories in recommendations. Now, this is not my statistic. This is LinkedIn's statistic. They say that they want a minimum of 10 recommendations in your profile with keywords. Now, the 10, I don't know why that's the magic number, but LinkedIn says you're going to get found more organically. You're going to get favored in organic search if you have at least 10 recommendations and at least the keywords. So think like this, and this is, you know, LinkedIn doesn't make it easy to get recommendations, but you have to be connected to the person first, and then you can go in and ask them for a recommendation. And here's another pro tip. We do a 1-2 punch with this. First of all, we ask them in LinkedIn, and then we write we have a template that says, hey, I would love it if you would recommend this for this product or service that you provided. And could you please use the keywords? And, you know, for example, if I did a LinkedIn profile makeover, can you please use the keywords LinkedIn profile makeover or LinkedIn makeover or LinkedIn marketing, whatever that is, in your recommendation, because it helps us get found in LinkedIn. And then thank them. And then what else I do is I also send them a personal email and say, hey, I just sent you a recommendation request. Please go check it out in your LinkedIn inbox. And some people will and some people won't. But the goal here is to make sure that they stay up to date, not one that you got 5 years ago. LinkedIn wants to see fresh recommendations. So I would add that to your strategy after you start your after you built your profile. All right, so guys, so I've been talking a lot about profiles and I didn't really have any examples, and we didn't want to have 100 slides. So this is one of my clients. I'm still working on his profile. We have a couple more things to do, but I've known Joe for many, many years. And what I didn't know about Joe, I did know that he was a real estate investor, but I didn't know that he actually is a certified applied behavioral analysis expert. I don't know what that's called personally, like what his certification is, but he works with autistic adults and children. So this was his before. So look, you've got this gray background. That doesn't say anything about who he is. We have a picture that's 20 years old, and he has this dreaded open to work. Unless you guys are looking for a job.
Tracy, sorry to interrupt. Could you just click on, because the images haven't come up on the slide?
Really?
Yeah, go backwards one. There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Ah, there we go. All right. Thanks for letting me know. So the gray before, Joe's picture was from 20 years ago, and he has this dreaded open to work. And I suggest, if you're not looking for a job, I would not put open to work. If you are building a business, in my opinion, and others as well, it looks desperate. So I don't recommend that you do that. But look at his before and after of his headline, right? Before, he just says he's a writer, investor, behavioral therapy, and other service for adults and children. That didn't tell me much. But look at the second one, his after. Look at the background photo. He has a clear call to action. He has a hook or a tagline. So we use a little bit of copywriting in our profile makeovers. And then look at his headline. It's applied behavioral analysis programs are scarce in Europe and overseas. So he's just defined his goal. He knows what the problem is. And then he defined the goal. The goal is seeking investment to help bring awareness and grow disability programs. That's what he's trying to do. His whole goal is to get investors interested in his programs to help these autistic children and adults overseas, which is very scarce. And then he can go on to say that he is an ABA therapist. There's his expertise. He's also the founder of his company, and he's an entrepreneur. So I think that is night and day when it comes to the headlines. And now you get 220 characters to refine and add to your headline. But what people are going to see in LinkedIn is the first part of it. So my recommendation is to have your keywords in there, your goal, or who are you trying to connect with and why, and how you can help them. And then if you have any room left, go ahead and add your titles. You know, maybe you're a doctor, or you have an MBA, or you're a best-selling author, or you are a dad. You can put fun stuff in there too. All right, guys, now we are to the fun stuff. Woo! New LinkedIn features. I got to tell you, I was very fortunate to be on an opinion panel about a month, or I don't know, I think it's been 2 months now, close to 2 months now. And I got to see some potential upcoming features with profiles. And what LinkedIn is doing is encouraging folks to become more premium members. So if you are a freemium member, you don't want to be a freemium member anymore. And I believe this will apply to business premium and sales navigator members. But trust me, especially if you are a solo entrepreneur or you're a freelancer or you have a very small business, this is going to be night and day, because company pages don't have quite the capabilities and features that personal profiles do. So let's move forward. All right, so some of my photos aren't great because I screenshot this stuff with my phone. So the first one here is customized styling for premium profiles. So you're going to be able to get exclusive access to customizable text formatting. I'm sorry, here to personalize your profile. So you're going to be able to stand out in the search results. Nice, right? Organic. And through your activities by being able to change font colors and adding italics and bolding words. See, right now, we have to go use a tool called Fancy Text Generator to even just bold text. If you've all have seen that in like the newsfeed or profiles, right? You won't have to do that anymore. And we'll be able to add colors. See, colors is what draws the eye. You're going to also be able to add personality by turning your background photo into a carousel with multiple photos. And we'll see that here in just a second. So you're also going to see badges and highlights section. So if you can see the before and the after, so the highlights, look at that. That's kind of like Google reviews for LinkedIn. Do you really think that that might, propel your expertise and authority right there, especially if it's right up top? Man, that just creates trust when people, give you a great review. I know when I go to Google, I look at the reviews before I decide to visit that salon or that dentist or that lawyer, right? I want to go and check people out. So I think this is fantastic. And this is the advanced about section. So I just mentioned about the, well, actually I didn't have a photo of the background photo into carousel with multiple photos. So let me go back real quick. So you see here in Joe's after picture here, that's the background photo. And what you'll be able to do with this new feature is add more than one. Oh my gosh, what greater place to add more than one call to action, right? I think that's pretty fantastic. I hope y'all can envision that. All right, so we're also the advanced about section. So, and you're gonna see the tabs. So see the after. So you see your about section, but now I can actually add tabs. So you're going to be able to elevate the details here that help you stand out above your competition by adding tabs. So here you can share what makes you, your company, your product or service unique. Go beyond the text-only descriptions by uploading images, videos. You can hyperlink URLs and to tell your story. Didn't we just talk about storytelling? We want to draw people in with our story because that's where the trust comes in. And then this is just another a view of it. I'm sorry guys for the bad photo here, but I had to go back in and it wouldn't let me take a clear photo, so I had to screenshot that. So this is the focus viewer mode. So once you are a premium member, and if somebody else is a premium member, they're going to land on your profile and you're not going to see ads anymore. You're not going to see people who viewed your profile on the sidebar anymore. You're not going to see the people you may know anymore. All that's going to be gone, and only they're going to see is your profile, just you and you alone. I think that's fantastic. No distractions, right? And then you're going to be able to add custom call to actions. Now I know this is, we already used this photo, but look at the right hand side over here. Do you see where it says my business, my interests, my aspirations? You're going to be able to actually customize those to whatever call to action that you want. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. So think to, drive people to your webinar or your free guide, maybe a calendar for a strategy session, or maybe your membership, maybe you're selling, a digital course or a recurring monthly membership. How about an event? Create an event on LinkedIn and then drive people through your profile also to that event. And then maybe even a link tree, kind of like what they do for Instagram, to all of your offerings. So I think it's going to be really, really fantastic. So I would I would have you guys consider if this is going to come about. We don't know. I'm keeping my fingers crossed if or when it's going to happen, becoming a premium member. Ooh, that makes me so excited. So here's my Dux-Soup story. So I've been using Dux-Soup off and on since 2014. Giles and I talked about this yesterday. And I was a user at the very beginning, and then I left, to test out different software. But then I came back, and here's why I came back. I use Dux-Soup Pro in 2 ways. I'm not a turbo user because I really feel that we need to have high touch in LinkedIn, and I use automation very sparingly, right? So here's what I do is I go into Sales Navigator and I segment out my first degree connections into lists. So in Sales Navigator, you're able to create lists. And what I do is I format a message depending on what my goal is for the messaging my first degree connections, okay? I make sure that every one of those connections, this message is applicable to. And then I go and use Dux-Soup and put it on automation, and I send out the messages. And I will probably send out anywhere between 50 to 200 or more messages on a daily basis. I keep my account healthy with LinkedIn. I don't do them all in one day. And then when somebody responds, I don't have, a automated response to it. I actually go in there and I respond manually to every person, because every response might be a little bit different. And the only reason I don't go in and use an automatic message afterwards is because depending on what they say, that message might look silly. So, I want to make sure that it's high touch, because my whole goal for that is probably to get them offline and into my own email client or maybe on the phone. All right. And then secondly, I strategize using open profiles, and you can only do this in Sales Navigator. You've got to be a Sales Navigator member to see who's an open profile. So here is the advanced strategy. You go in, and we talked earlier about what LinkedIn groups are your customers in, right? Is that the CEO group? Is it a real estate group? Is it a, some sort of marketing or writers group? Okay, so go add yourself to those groups. Secondly, you can send free in-mails to a demographic within that group using Sales Navigator to filter and refine. So you get 50 in-mails on the Pro version. I think they've changed the name of it, so don't quote me on exactly what it is, but you don't want to use those monthly in-mails. We can send 40 to 50 messages per day for free to those who have an open profile through the use of Sales Navigator, right? I think that's fantastic for free. Can you imagine if you did this 7 days a week and you tested out a couple different messages, what kind of response you might get? Well, I know what kind of response I got. We'll go back and tell you about that in just a second. So here's the manual way. So you're in LinkedIn and you do a filtered out of a lead search, leads are people, and you have to go in there manually and look at everyone's profile. So when I clicked on Dean's profile, I noticed that he had an open profile. So you know that by the green box, it says open. But I would have to go in and open each person in that search to find out that they had an open profile. That would take forever. So I use Dux-Soup. So in Dux-Soup, the first thing you'll do is come into Actions, which is your first tab, and you are going to check on the green there that says send in-mail during visits using Sales Navigator or Recruiter. And then you have a subject line, so make it like a hook, right? And then your message, okay? And then from there, you will go to the skipping tab, which is your second one, and you are going to turn on skip if not an open link member, which is great. Now I can automate this and I don't have to spend hours and hours and hours going through 1,000 people in my search to find out who's an open profile so I could send these messages. Fantastic. So here's my success stories. So my segment success story, when I filtered out my first connections, I sent my messages, my message that I, have formulated to my first degree connections, and I got over 540 signups to my profile checklist. And guess what? I used Dux-Soup to do all of that for me. Now I can take that spreadsheet that I downloaded from a CSV file from Dux-Soup, and I can go and import that into my CRM or whatever, email client that I am using at that time to further market to these folks. Because these are the folks that raised their hand that said, I want your profile checklist. Yes, I'm interested. And I always ask, it's a permission campaign. I don't give it to them, I ask permission because I want that to build that relationship with them. Now, when I use this for a client of mine, and this is the advanced strategy in the groups, this is what happened. What I did is, because I belong to all these real estate groups, because my background is in real estate and mortgage, right? I went in and I started connecting with these developers and these folks in these groups. And here's what happened. I just asked them, I think you saw the message in the back. Let me go back to one more. I asked them, I saw that you're in the same real estate group that I am. I have a quick question. Are you an active real estate investor or do you work with them? Just reply back and let me know either way. I'm not selling anything here. I'm merely just trying to get interest and find out who that ideal prospect is. Well, my client happens to be a private money and hard money lender. He's been in the business and he's a real estate investor for over 40 years. That's his clout, right? And I redid his profile. And here's what happened. We got some responses back. And now I got him connected, and I drove people to his profile to edify him and showcase his authority as his expertise. He's now working with a company out of California who is starting to revitalize Detroit with 2,000 homes over the next few years, and they're going to start doing 10 loans per month. For him, that's going to equate over the next few years to around $600,000 in his fees, his lending fees. Also got him connected with a developer here in Kansas City. She's an amazing land broker. And he is now working on a $13 million, a $40 million, and a $90 million project, developmental project here in Kansas City. And that's going to equate to around, $286,000 in loan fees as well. And I have several more in the pipeline. And that's all from this high touch. Let me show you, I have my client who I work with. If you'd be interested in an introduction, here's his profile, go check him out and let me know. And this is what happened. We did not regurgitate or vomit our offer, onto somebody in these groups. We merely tried to find who it was that we could work with, because we defined who our ideal prospect was. And I just went in there with a very unassuming question. Do you know, or are you? And this was the success that I've gotten. So it's absolutely fantastic how I use Dux-Soup in the pro version, and it just takes consistency. Do we have any questions? Whoa, I need a drink of water.
Have your drink of water. I'm sure there are lots of questions. If I hand over to Jen.
Yes, we have a lot of questions. So the first question would be, what if you have 3 or 4 target industries? What do you do in this case?
So again, we talked about the defining your business objectives and goals. That's great. 2 or 3 target industries. I would start with 1. Now, what you can do is identify who they are within the profile, and you might get some spillover or people coming to you because they'll find you organically, but just focus on 1, because I think it'll be an organizational nightmare if you try to do 2 or 3 target industries, because they may have different problems or desires. And I think when you get into trying to move them in the direction through your sales pipeline that you want, it could get a little confusing and messy.
Thank you. Another question might be quite a simple one. Is it mandatory to have a profile photo available for everyone on LinkedIn to succeed?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't connect with people who don't have a profile photo. And I know a lot of folks that won't, because that just, there's a distrust there. Why are you on LinkedIn if you don't have a profile photo? I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that. I'm just saying, if you're just going to skirt around LinkedIn anonymously, I don't think that creates trust.
Thank you. Another person wanted to clarify, by 50 keywords, do you mean 50 skills which other people can endorse? Because the person said, I've just deleted 10 which have appeared magically over the years, which I didn't check. Should I end up with 50, for example?
Sure. And you want to know why those magically showed up over the years? Is because LinkedIn took this feature away, but you could have your connections go and actually create skills for you if you didn't have 50. That's why I always had 50, so that somebody else couldn't create a skill for me. And I learned that lesson the hard way, because I kept getting endorsed for budgets. And I'm like, I don't do anything with financial stuff at all. So yeah, good. Go and check your, like this person did, go in and check your skills. You might have some in there that you're like, I didn't add this, you know, and then go remove those. But yeah, the 50 skills, I mean, you're going to use your top few, 2, 3, 4, maybe strategically throughout your profile, you know, the top keywords that your prospect is typing in to find you. But then you can do variations of that to get to the 50 skills. Sometimes it's hard to think like the prospect. And so what I'll do is I'll go to my competitors and I'll go to their websites, I'll go to their profiles or their company pages. I do that in anonymous mode, by the way. You need to change those in your privacy settings when I go check out my competitors. And I'll go find some possibilities of keywords that I probably couldn't brainstorm on my own. And sometimes that helps as well. And, you know, if you can't get to 50, that's okay. Just start with 25. And then as you know, I keep a running list in my Google Drive. I just brain dump everything for the keywords, and some made sense and some don't. Go do the ones that make sense. And then if you have an epiphany, then go into your skill section and add another, and then reorder them to your top 3, the ones that you want to get endorsed for the most.
Thank you. Another question. What do you think about putting kids in your LinkedIn posts, humanizing or non-business?
You mean, okay, can we further define that? Are we talking about in the newsfeed and content, or are we talking about on our profile?
It's difficult to say. That's the only question. I can check if the customer is, if the person is going to clarify.
If it's about
in your LinkedIn posts, sorry, it's LinkedIn posts.
Yeah, okay, so your content, absolutely. You know what? I showcased those 2 boys that you guys saw in the beginning. Those are my ride or die youngest ones. And, you know, I was single mom for many, many years, mostly with those 2 younger ones. And I put them in my Christmas photos. I put them in their birthdays. I will highlight their birthdays. And I add a little business spin to it. Like when my son graduated high school, my youngest son, I touted all his accomplishments, and my 22-year-old too, with his 6 awards and all that kind of stuff. People want to see the human of you. So I'm not saying do this every day, but I think, you know, to let people in a little bit on your personal lives, fantastic.
Great, thank you. Another person is asking, do projects have to name the client? I have to sign NDAs and therefore generalize details about clients so they are non-recognizable.
Actually, that's a fantastic question, because I do have clients that have the same situation. And what we typically do is we'll do the title and the industry and what the success was in the headlines. We'll use some copywriters. So we might go, CEO of Agile industry, and then we'll highlight what the service was or the success was. You know, went from, you know, let's say 20 million to 50 million in 4 months. You know, I'm just making that up, but I won't actually name the company. We'll just put the industry in the title.
Great. Thank you. Another one, I'm a consultant. Should I use the open to work badge, or does that make me look like I'm looking for a job or otherwise desperate?
If you're a consultant, I think it looks like you're looking for a job. Here's how I think you should get around that. You actually, when in your profile, you can add what they call service pages, and LinkedIn will show the services that you provide. So I would do that instead of the open to work. I really honestly think that just showcases desperation, and I know that some of you out there might disagree with me, and that's quite all right. There's no one way to approach LinkedIn, but that's my opinion. But if you're like hiring, for example, I would say hiring on there, absolutely. But the open to work, I really think, is more for folks in the workforce looking for employment.
Great, thank you. And what are the advantages and disadvantages of putting your email address in your banner?
That is up to you. You know, it's not clickable right now. I don't know if the background photos will have that option later on down the road, like a website address or anything like that. Just figure out what kind of call to action you want. What I recommend a lot of folks do is create an email address that's strictly just for LinkedIn, because you're going to find people that will scrape your information and, you know, try and put spam in your inbox. So, I mean, that's optional for you, but I mean, it's worked well for me. But maybe your call to action you can, you know, set up a domain name like that goes not directly to your email address, but maybe a calendar link or something like that, and then you just forward it over to that if you're worried about your email address. But I will say this: if you connect with somebody and you set your privacy settings that your first connections can see your email address, they can just go in your contact info and grab that anyway.
Thank you. Another customer, another attendee was wondering, those little cartoony emojis like on Joe's description with the balloon and etc. Always struck me wrong. What are your thoughts on them?
Again, that's optional. What I like to do is use those to separate the thoughts. Like you might have your headline or your hook, and then you have your titles. And we used to be in the old days, we just used the pipe, which is on your keyboard above the enter key, to separate that. You can use that too, but I think it just adds some color and it drives the eye to, you know, the headline, to read the headline. But I will tell you this, I've seen it overdone, like too many of them, like star in front, star in back, star, 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 star between each, you know, thought. And it was just, wow, just too much. I think less is more. But again, if it doesn't fit your personality, then don't do it.
Thank you. 3 more questions. Talking about the upcoming features, do you know if they are already on production or they are coming soon? Will they be available outside the US?
I don't have a clue. And again, I was just on an opinion panel. They never said if these were coming or not. And I don't know how many people were on that panel. That was kind of secret information. But what I will say is I believe this will be rolled out. If they do, this is big if, or when, it will be rolled out, you know, across all of LinkedIn members. And many times new features don't come to the US first, they start overseas. So you typically, a lot of times I'll see them over in like Ireland, because there's a big LinkedIn headquarters over there, Australia, and the UK before it hits Canada or the US.
Very interesting, thank you. And we had quite a few very curious customers. What CRM are you using?
Oh, see, Giles, I told you they'd be interested in this.
Yeah, absolutely. You did. You called it.
I did. You know, I've tried a lot of them. I've tried free HubSpot, Pipedrive, which is about $60 a month. And then I've tried a couple others like project.co and stuff like that. but I'm actually migrating everything over to High Level. You guys can go to gohighlevel.com, and High Level does everything. Like it does like same thing, your deal stages that you can do in HubSpot and Pipedrive. It's a CRM. It builds sales funnels, websites. You can do multi-channel marketing, which we, obviously didn't cover today. I love the multi-channel and omni-channel marketing, which is we get into people's text messages, not just their email inbox, but text messages and ringless voicemail. Man, it's a very robust system. Membership websites, you can do all your free giveaways, everything in there, and capture everybody's information. It's pretty cool. I've requested from Giles and Dux-Soup some potential work with High Level, maybe cross my fingers, right, Giles?
Yeah, we talked about that briefly yesterday. So yeah, it's on our radar.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really interesting platform. But just in case anybody who's not been on these webinars before, because I know we've got quite a new audience today as well, just so you're aware, with Dux-Soup Turbo, we do already have direct integrations with HubSpot, Pipedrive, and SharpSpring CRMs. We're always looking to expand that portfolio as well. But of course, we have our API as well, and we integrate with Zapier and make.com. So there are endless possibilities for you to be able to integrate with things if you've got Dux-Soup Turbo, which is the version that you get the API access to.
And like I mentioned to Giles yesterday, I am not opposed to going turbo and paying, upgrading if I can integrate it with High Level. So just let you guys know, I would happily go and be a turbo member once that happens.
Cool.
And last but not least, a question from me. So with the before and after profile, do you need to have a paid account to be able to make the profile header look as good as Joe's?
Nope, that is free to everybody. You go ahead, and we like to use Canva. I actually have a design team, but if for those of you who are on a budget, Canva has a free version, and the pro version's like, I don't know, $12 a month. And they actually have it. You just go in and there say LinkedIn banner, and they have like thousands of templates for you to get started.
Fabulous.
Great, that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jen. Thank you so much, Tracy. I'm sure many of us still fall foul of some of the bad habits that you've been referring to in this session. And I think it's really good that you've shared such a simple and simple process for us to follow to improve our LinkedIn profiles. For me personally, I love the fact that we are advocating colour, because I like a nice bright colour. So looking at my profile update coming soon. So just before we go, obviously Tracy's just popped up her contact information there for us all to see. Is there anything you wanted to mention about?
Yeah, guys, go get my ultimate profile checklist. It used to be 30 points, now it's 31, and it does not cover creator mode. Don't worry about creator mode right now, but the ultimateprofilechecklist.com, you'll get also a copy of my best-selling book, which the whole first chapter covers the profile. It's a little out of date when it comes to the content and the publishing side of things, but I hear it's still a good read. Folks are still liking it and purchasing it on Amazon, but you get it for free, and you'll get my profile checklist. And this isn't just like a checkbox thing. I actually have pro tips and hints in this checklist. It's like 3 or 4 pages. And this checklist actually is going to be in my digital course, which is coming late February, the ultimate profile framework, the ultimate LinkedIn profile framework. And this checklist is for my paying customers and clients, and you will get exactly just that, not some watered down version of it. You'll get the full checklist.
That's fantastic, thank you. If you just pop onto the next slide for me, please, Tracy. So don't forget, if you do an amazing review on G2, then you too can have one of these fabulous caps, which obviously Tracy's been sporting. Giles has got there as well. And And yeah, so the details there for G2, just log on to Dux-Soup in the G2 platform, and we will pick our top 3 favorites, and then we'll be in touch and let you know. Well, we'll be in touch to get hold of your postage information so we can get your caps to you. If we just pop on to the next slide, please, Tracy. You're doing a fabulous job with that. Apologies that you've got to do it for me. Our next webinar is in 2 weeks' time on the 7th of February, where Giles will be exploring the benefits of streamlining your lead gen activities by using Dux-Soup and Zapier with CRM tools such as Salesforce or ClickUp. Just very quickly, Giles, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, we're going to look at we've not looked at it for a long time, and I know that the Zapier interface has changed a little bit, and I noticed that, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Stacy has asked, would love a Zapier and Dux-Soup webinar. Well, good news is in 2 weeks' time, that's exactly what we're doing. So yeah, we're going to look at broadly at Salesforce and probably ClickUp, but look at it from a more general perspective to show how straightforward the platform can be to integrate with your chosen platform. And then I think in a month or two after that, we're going to be doing a Google Sheets one, sort of a dashboard type one as well. So we're going to be revisiting Zapier. So we didn't do a lot on Zapier last year, but this year we're going to be looking at that one again.
It's brilliant. Fantastic. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you in particular, Tracy. I think we've got so much to work with there. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you on this, and take care and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you, Joe.
Bye.